How do I get more leads?
How do I stand out in my market?
Is it unprofessional to talk about my kids on Instagram?
Should I have one account or two?
Do I really need a personal brand as a real estate agent?
We are the Modern Agent Marketing Girls. We are two agents turned marketing experts who believe you can become the go-to real estate girl in your market, all because you are you. I'm Chelsea Peterson, founder and CEO of Modern Agent Social Club.
And I'm Kayla Fox, Modern Agent's content creator. Let us be your guide as we talk about what it means to market your real estate business the modern way.
So refill your favorite beverage, open your notes app, and get ready to build a business and a brand you're obsessed with. Let's go.
That is super cute. Your sweatshirt. Let's talk about this.
Oh,
Because I love the purple, but
it says Bing.
like Chandler Bing.
No.
What is it supposed to be?
Mark always asks this. Aneen Bing, I think is her name. She's a designer.
Oh.
And she says really good, like feel how good of quality this sweatshirt is.
Yes.
They're like
that's so
super
nice.
thick. I just ordered a hooded one in her like sport edition.
Yeah.
But they're kind of like nicer sweatshirts. Like,
Yeah.
but this one's huge. Like I wouldn't wear it out.
But I like how it's still like kind of worn and like it
Yeah.
looks very lived in. And it says Bing. which
Well, it's
I'm
funny
thinking
that it
Chandler
says Bing because we're going to talk about Friends in a second. And so when I walked in the room and you're like, Bing, or I don't, didn't you say that when I
Yes.
walked in? Yeah. And I'm like,
Bing,
okay.
the turkey's done.
Yeah. So I'm like, we have to talk about this. Okay.
Yes. And we're talking about Friends today. Anyway,
Yeah. So it's like perfect time, but it's not Chandler Bing.
no.
But I'm going to say it is in honor of him and our rooster
Oh,
who passed.
yes. Your rooster, your beloved Chandler
I
Bing
know.
rooster.
He's my favorite one.
That is really sad.
I never thought I'd cry over a chicken.
Simon says you never thought you'd say.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Sad.
Okay, can I say random names?
Yeah.
And I want you to tell me what you think of.
Mhm.
I'm going to start with Chandler Bing.
A chicken, a duck. Bathtubs.
Yes.
Stats. Office job.
Yes.
Monica.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yep.
Jokes. Mr. Kleiner. Barker Lounger.
Yes.
What am I
All the
missing?
things. Those are like it.
The main.
You could basically make this an emoji game and be like, put
Yeah.
all the emojis down that make you think of somebody.
I wish they had a recliner emoji.
Oh, that would
They're
be good.
missing so many.
I know. There's not very many good like indoor house ones.
No.
Okay, what about Rachel Green?
Fashion. Bloomingdale's. Emma. What? Yeah, she's my favorite one. Central Park. They all are Central
Yes.
Park, but waitress.
Yep.
Fashion is my biggest one. Mom, eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Ross.
Yep.
We were on a break.
Yes. Yes. Love it. Rory Gilmore.
This kind of feels like a trivia game.
I know. I think this is really
Okay,
fun.
Rory Gilmore. She annoys me so much, but I mean, I love the show, but she personally annoys me.
Like she's the worst.
Yes. Rory Gilmore. I think of Stars Hollow, Chilton, Logan. Forget the other two. Are you in that team?
Oh, see, I don't like how any of them turned out, but
Well, I don't
I
either.
liked Dean. I was
Oh,
like,
you're like the only one.
no, I don't understand why everyone hates. Now, towards the end, yes, but
I think Dean was really sweet. I think he was just a little controlling.
yes,
And for being so young, it was a little odd, but she wasn't being very nice either.
no. And
So,
I'm
like, I
sorry,
get it.
Jess is a hot mess.
No, I'm not a
don't-
Just
He
person.
turned out great too.
I mean, I love him. I think people like him because he's Jack on This Is Us.
yeah,
But I'm like, that's not a reason to like him on Gilmore Girls.
No.
But I diverse. Team Logan. I have a mug.
okay. What about Elle Woods?
Pink, Bruiser Woods. Oh my gosh. I got a Chihuahua the second I graduated high school because of Bruiser
you
Woods. But I named him Marley, and he was dark chocolate brown, and he was the best dog ever. And he didn't look like a Chihuahua. He was such a cool dog.
Yes.
When I would say, like, what kind of dog do you, people would say, what kind of dog do you have? And I'm like, a Chihuahua, but he's not a Chihuahua. Like, he's like
Yes.
I don't know what he is. He's like a magic dog.
Yeah.
That's so cute. Law school.
Yep.
Sparkles, pink, everything. I wore pink every day. I should save some of this for a future episode.
You're like, Elle
is-
Woods wannabe?
I'm clearly excited right now about all these people.
You're like, oh, yes.
Yeah. I wore pink every day my sophomore year of high school because
Really?
I was so obsessed with, I mean, like Legally Blonde had already come out and done, but
That's
like
so fun.
I was so obsessed with the color pink and she wore it every day. So I kind of felt like
Yes. You're like, she's my whole person.
I was a reinvented Elle Woods.
That's so
sophomore
funny.
year. I'm going to restart that again.
I love it so much. I did not expect you to get that fired up over Elle Woods.
My past.
I have one more name. Kayla Fox.
Oh, football coach's wife, football, 4 kids, mom, Taylor Swift, hosting, all the popcorn,
all the things, all of it. And then, yeah, I would say for you, I think the same thing. I think being a mom, I think like healthy alternatives to things. I think cooking.
Oh, that's made its way in my brain.
Wine. Yes. Like, oh, it's just so funny. And it's so funny, like being here together too and seeing like more of your actual like brand, like the things that we think of come to life here, but then also other things. There's like, oh, you don't talk about that very much, whatever. But
Hotel Monica.
Yes, all the things.
I used to have a sign.
You did?
Yeah, for like when my cousin would come, I would have a Hotel Monica letterboard
I love that.
in her room, and I would always do like a gift basket or like snack basket.
I had in my first house, I had a guest bedroom, you know, for all my guests that lived 5 minutes on the road from my house. But I had that French poster that Monica had up in her living room in there for Hotel Monica. So
that's so cute.
I know. Okay, the reason that we're talking about all of this today anyway is because we're talking about this term that you have coined called brand menu. What is a brand menu?
A brand menu is basically different pillars of how you're showing up on social media that have to do with your life, not just your business, that help you connect, have conversations, make yourself memorable in a very like nonchalant way, like subliminal almost way. And it's just kind of a strategic way to do it on repeat so that people remember you as the real estate agent who always watches Gilmore Girls before bed, or the real estate agent who always wears pink. If I ever become an agent again, I'm wearing pink every day. That's going to be my thing. It'll be so fun. And I'll get another chihuahua.
I love that. And it's so, it sounds like, okay, your brand menu is kind of just basically who you are, but it's more than that because like there are like people are complex people and there's so many aspects to our life. We were talking earlier about how I just like casually said, I like country music. And you were like, I had no idea. And I have thought before, man,
you had no idea about my Elwood's excitement.
Your Elwood's obsession. Yeah, exactly. I have thought before, I could easily, first of all, I could kick anyone's butt in like Shania Twain karaoke. In fact, I did that a couple weeks ago for our Thanksgiving. Yeah, Shania Twain, Dixie Chicks, like all of them. Terry Clark.
Can you sing?
I can sing.
Really?
But I don't, like, I do it like at church and stuff, but like I don't necessarily like bring that into my online brand.
I never knew that either.
So yeah. So it's just, it's an interesting concept because it is, your brand menu is like who you are, but it's also not everyone that you are. So you kind of get to like curate it, right?
Yeah, it's a curated intentional list of, I kind of described it odd, but like a curated list of intentional things about you that you make a part of your brand.
Yeah. Beyond what you do.
Beyond what you do for a living. Real estate is one of them, basically. Yeah. You could say like real estate's if you have 5 things on your brand menu, real estate's your 6 or 4 or 5, whatever.
Yeah.
But you described it as, we talked about this earlier. We should just record ourselves at all times. But you described the menu as, what did you say?
It's basically, I asked you why you called it a menu. And you're like, well, you know, it's just like what's at a party. And I'm like, so it's kind of like what's being served on the platter. Like if you're walking around with a tray, like this is what we're talking about tonight. This is what I'm serving you. This is what this is what's on the table. It's not a matter of like, let's dissect every part of who I am and let's air all my dirty laundry.
So at the core, brand menu is a strategy to build a community on Instagram.
Yeah.
Basically, because through it, you're going to make connections, have conversations, build trust, make friends. Like, let's just call it that. You're making friends and you're doing it in a way that makes people want to know more. So like kind of going back to how we talked about our cocktail party. If you're at a cocktail party, you're not only going to talk about what you do for a living or say like, here's my open house information for Saturday, and then go sit in a corner like a weird robot. Like no one would ever talk to you again.
Yes.
But on social media, we put out, it's like we're entering this like invisible force field and it's like, that's all I can talk about. Like, but really that just pushes people away and they never want to come back again. So like, again, thinking of it as your party, what are you serving at your party? What can someone expect? You could almost put it in party categories. Like when you come to my party, I'm going to serve wine. We're going to talk about book club. Or I'm going to host book club. I'm going to host wine club.
Yeah.
I'm going to host. There's a new show on Netflix called, what is it called? It's with the guy from The Good Place. Like an older guy.
I don't have Netflix. I'm like,
well, I can't think of the name of it. He goes undercover at a nursing home to try to figure out who's stealing from this one of the patients or whatever. Yeah. It's hilarious. But he keeps talking to people and saying like, yeah, I'm in the so-and-so club. And the girl who knows he's undercover goes like, you're really into clubs, aren't you? I don't know. I like totally butchered it. It's hilarious. I think it's called like the Inside Man, or I don't know.
That's so funny.
It's so funny. But anyways, you can almost think of it as like your 5 clubs. I'm in like a book club, reading club, a wine club, a hosting club. I love to host. We all wear pink club, or like, you can almost break it down like that.
Yep.
Like, what clubs am I in?
Yeah.
Or would I have?
Yeah.
Cooking club.
Yep. I think
football club.
All the things. Coach's Wives Club.
Yes.
I think that people see things like this or start to listen to conversations like this, and they think like, I'm a real estate agent. I am not like we talked about before, like not like an influencer. Like I'm not like I don't have this big booming personality that is, is so fun or whatever. And so I don't necessarily have a brand, or like my life is just not that exciting. Like I get up every morning, I take the kids to school and then I'm at home or whatever. Like how can we convince people today that like they have a brand whether they like it or not? Like what is a brand anyway?
I would like to figure out that you have one. Like everyone has one, right? Mm-hmm. It's what you're doing anyways, and you're kind of bringing it to life. And not, like you said earlier, not every aspect of what you do is going to be your brand, but certain things that are kind of like just your things. Like I would say off camera, like let's say someone was filming you at nighttime. Like you're not on the job, you're not on whatever. Like what are you doing before bed? Mm-hmm. What are you having for dinner? When you drive to a showing, what are you listening to on the radio, or are you listening to an audiobook, or listening to a podcast? Do you like silence?
Yeah.
Are you a PowerPoint girl? Are you a like, oh my, PowerPoint, I feel like this is like 1985. I feel like there's just so many like they're not hidden. They're just in plain sight things that you do every day that could be a part of your brand that make you who you are.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be exciting. It doesn't have to be that you like traveled to 48 countries before you turn 40, or that you can make crazy Martha Stewart like crass. I'm thinking of my friend Sunny as I say those two things. Yeah. But that's her. Yeah. But like it's just your everyday stuff that connects. Because if you think about like, if you ever talk to someone going back to a cocktail party and you have a common interest, like you have kids the same age, you realize both of your kids are interested in the same sport. You realize both of you watch The Golden Bachelorette. I mean, oh my gosh, it could be the simplest thing. It could be that both of you like really don't watch TV because you don't have time, and oh my gosh, that's your thing. Like you find that connection point, and then all of a sudden you like start to become friends. Like you build rapport. You're like, oh, I like them. Like I can talk to them. What else could we talk about? Yeah. Like I feel comfortable talking to them. And now you're like down a rabbit hole 30 minutes later with someone you never even previously knew because you found a common interest. Mm-hmm. And I think if you can approach social media that way, again, because it's social, you find these common interests of people in your community, and then they know you as like, okay, well, I know what you do for a living, but I'm going to connect with you on these other things.
Yes.
But now I'm so invested in you as a human and a person, I can't think of anyone else that I would ever use if I needed a real estate agent, or anyone else I would ever use. Insert any person. If you even think about like who you hire to do anything for your business, there's probably somewhat of a connection there on some level. Or we just recently both listened to a podcast with Rory Vaden, who's a personal brand strategist. And he said he hired his realtor not because he's like, I don't know if she was like the best realtor in the world, or if she does anything any differently than, we're out of the box than someone else. He's like, but we like her and we trust her.
Yes.
And you can build the like and the trust by sharing who you are.
Yeah.
Again, there's like an underlying friendship to that. Like, who are you before you're their agent?
Yes. And this is especially important for agents. Like, I would argue that anyone who's trying to grow their business on social media needs to have a personal brand, needs to have a brand menu that is clear. And yes, it can change and, ebb and flow, because that's what you do as a person anyway. But it is especially important for real estate agents because people aren't buying houses every day. People don't, it's not a t-shirt that they're buying. It's not a book. It's not a gimmick. It is a huge investment that takes a lot of planning and life commitment out of your life in order to buy or sell or make an investment or whatever. So if we as agents are only posting real estate content, only posting just listed, just sold, are you looking to buy or sell, that kind of content, we are most likely not meeting people and having conversations with people who are ready to buy and sell that very minute. And so what happens is they come across that, they look at it, they might even think like, wow, she's super successful, but they have no reason to engage with you. And the bottom line is later that weekend, when they're sitting down with their friends for dinner and one of them mentions that they might be moving and they don't even know who to use, you're not going to come to mind for them. But the person that will come to mind for them is the agent who is not only an agent, but who also does yoga in the barn, or that has a book club, or that is involved in the PTO at school and shares, different, community connections, those kind of things. And if they have already been talking about those things with you online through DMs, through comments, even through liking, sharing, whatever, or just viewing your stories, they're going to be like, oh, I know this girl. Like, I know this agent. And they're going to be much more likely to share your name. And they're probably going to share it with someone who likes you because you like those things.
I like that way of putting it. Is you're really, if you're focusing more on like creating relationships than on creating and like finding a conversion, like everything's always about like, where can I get this lead? Where can I get my next client? And obviously that is a big concern. Mm-hmm. But I think because we kind of try to skip over the other parts of like the building the relationships, the building a community, the like making friends in our community, and like that piece that's going to turn into business long term, we are always looking for the right now client, the right now business, the right now conversion. And we miss so much opportunity to have this like huge community around our brands that care about who we are as people. And I guess you're not just like, I think, and you said this, you started to say this, real estate is almost one of the most important industries to have a personal brand, because you're selling someone's biggest investment. And that's not just going to happen because you shared like the house that you held open, or you held the house that you listed. Like, people need to really know, like, and trust you before that happens. And having this personal brand helps them build that trust on the front end, like long before they may ever use you. But again, like you said, they could talk to a friend on Saturday who could tell them about you tomorrow. But if they never look at your account because they're like, oh, I'm not going to that party, like that's not for me.
Yes.
That's never going to happen.
If they feel like every time they reach out to you or talk to you, it's going to turn into a sales pitch, or it's going to turn into this like, oh, I don't like my living room either. Are you looking to sell your house? Like, instead of just this, like, I struggled with this arrangement in my living room too, but this is what I did. You know what I mean? Like, having those conversations, you're going to be much more approachable for people, and they're going to want to talk to you. They're going to want to end up using you one day. And sometimes, a lot of people think like, oh, this is my 10-year house. And all of a sudden life happens. Do you want to tell them about the knock on the door that we just had?
Well, I'll tell like a version of it, just in case anyone knows anyone. Yes. So how do I say that without saying that?
Basically, you had a neighbor come to the door.
Yeah.
Because they had
a piece of our mail.
Yes. And they said that they were moving. And you guys were surprised because you weren't expecting that.
Well, this neighborhood's also really new.
Yeah.
So he like basically explained why he was moving. And then Mark, my husband, closes the door and he goes, I wonder what their house will sell for.
Yes. That's the first thing he said. Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you're getting at? I totally got
that's part of it. But also just the fact that like basically life happened to him. Like all of a sudden, like there was a death in the family or something. And it was like, oh, this got really heated really fast.
I have to go. Yeah.
It got heavy. But it was, probably 4 weeks ago, he wasn't planning on selling his house, or 2 weeks ago, he wasn't planning on selling. So like those things do happen. So even the people who are like, no, I'm here, I'm good, I don't need an agent, all of a sudden they're like in a pickle and they're like, I've got to do something. So that means that the people who are already top of mind, like that's the first person they're going to turn to be their agent. So when you have a brand menu, it allows you to make connections with other people in your community, maybe long before they ever need to sell, but maybe it's only a week before. But that's just the bottom line of it. So it just opens the door for so many more conversations, so many more connections. Doesn't pigeonhole you into only being this real estate person. And it makes you, once again, like talking about like when you're really marketing as your true self, you're attracting clients that you just love working with.
Mhm.
And like most likely, you know what I mean? Like they're going to be people who already know not only that you're a great real estate agent, but that they love the same, you know, who is this? Ellen Hildebrand. Like they love her too. Like, did you read her latest book? Like they want to talk to you about those things and then get into like, okay, what do you think I could get out of my house? You know?
So what would you say to the person? I know this is a common question. The fear of alienating someone because they post about or share about book club, and then that person thinks, oh, maybe they're not professional, or maybe they're not the person for me because I could care less about reading and I don't drink wine and I don't like the color pink. Like, what about that? What about the repelling?
I mean, I think that if someone is nervous that they are going to appear unprofessional, that they are basically like they're looking at social media all the wrong way. That would be like if you get a chance to go on like the Today Show to talk about your business, you're going to want to have your pitch down. You're going to want to be very clear on what it is that you do, who it is that you serve, all of those things. But social media is not a billboard. It's not a TV show segment. It's not an ad. It's a party, like we've talked about. So like, when you look at it like it's intended to be used, when you look at the user behavior of anyone who maybe already has chosen to follow you, could potentially follow you, other people in your community that are on social media, they are not logging in to be sold to. Like they are logging in to be heard, to be seen, to be entertained, to build connections. So
to get inspired.
Yes. So if your content is not doing those things, they're going to bolt, even if you're the best agent out there.
I also think there's another quote from Rory Vaden.
Oh, yes. The fastest path to cash is to find the smallest audience that you can serve in the deepest way. And it was like, say it louder for the people in the back. How does this apply to real estate agents?
We can't be afraid to miss out on someone because we're being too specific. Because when you're trying to fit everyone, and you're trying to be the agent for everyone, no one's going to connect with you.
Yeah.
No one. Anyone can get their real estate license. Anyone can be a real estate agent. Like, I think this is the thing. Like, none of us are special.
Yeah.
None of us are the world's greatest anything, truly. Like, I mean, one person, I guess, is. But that's not the point. The point is we want to connect with the people who are going to be the right fit because it's going to make everything so much easier, like we've talked about, and so much better. But if we're trying to just like, well, I can't talk about books because someone might not like books, and I can't talk about whatever, someone might not like this. Like, it's that old quote, like, you could be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world and someone still doesn't like peaches, or someone still doesn't like Chick-fil-A, someone still doesn't like Taylor Swift. You could be the best of the best and someone's still not going to like you. So you can't worry about that part, and instead focusing on what is going to come from those connections. Like, through sharing parts of my life, I will make so many more friends, local connections, followers, than I would if I just stuck with my like really specific real estate educational content that people don't necessarily need right now. You're going to miss so much more by being afraid to be specific.
Yeah.
And I don't even think talking about book club or being a mom is too specific. It's more just like, here's my perspective. And here's my kind of like my identity.
If we're being honest, it's not like you and I have everything in common.
No.
It's not like you and your best friend have everything in common. The OBGYN that you're obsessed with, it's not like you know every single thing about her and like are seeing eye to eye. Your dentist, I mean, all of these things. But it is fun to find that common ground. You know what I mean? Like, we laugh. There's a dental assistant where I take my kids who her sons play football too. And whenever my son walks in, she's like, all right, Levi, like, what are we talking about today? Because she just knows it's all like football, whatever. And so it just like, it builds that connection. It doesn't mean that the next person coming in who hates sports isn't going to love her, like, or enjoy working with her. It's just, it's a building point, and it makes me feel more loyal to that office because I know that she's there and she makes my kids feel comfortable.
Yeah, speaking of dentists, my dentist I met because my husband golfs with her husband and we all became friends, and we have these dinner parties now.
I love that.
So like, there's a shared love of wine and travel and whatever, and that's why I picked her as my dentist.
Yes.
Like, not because she's the world's best dentist,
or
because she's the top she's clean or she's fixed the most teeth. Like, no.
It's
And I
how
trust
often-
her.
Yeah. And when you're sitting down for dinner with her, how often are you actually talking about teeth?
Never.
Right.
Except one time.
It might come up in a rare instance.
At our Christmas dinner party last year, someone had a little mishap and cracked their tooth, and she fixed it the next morning at like 6 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
So that was it.
Like my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, fun. Okay, so we talk about looking outside our industry a lot for like inspiration and for just like a fresh perspective, like ways to do things. And so you and I both follow 2 different accounts that sell the same thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about like Young Living essential oils, and there are 2 accounts. So mine that I follow is Nesting with Grace. And who's yours?
Jessica Garvin.
Okay, so let's talk about how they sell these oils.
And also, before you even say the oils, neither one of us followed them because they sold oils. We found out they sold
100%.
oils through following them, which is a great starting point to this topic.
Yes.
Because this is how it always goes. Like you get this idea in your head, like, oh, maybe I should sell this. I'm really good at it. Like maybe my best friend, she does amazing cheese boards and kind of will do a side gig here and there. She makes homemade soap.
Mm-hmm.
If she were to be like, I'm going to sell this soap, and she went on Instagram and posted a picture of the bar of soap, no one will buy that soap ever.
No.
So same with the essential oils. If Jessica Garvin, I got to her account way back when I found her, and there was like essential oil photos and like a picture of a diffuser and a picture of like 3 ways to use oil. That's a kind of beneficial, but I wouldn't have been hooked on her account where I'm like consuming it every day, following every story, watching every single thing, buying the essential oils I didn't know I needed.
Yep.
And so I'll talk about Nesting with Grace first, I guess.
Yeah. Well, same kind of thing. So Nesting with Grace, and funny enough, I don't even necessarily use oils or buy them often, but Nesting with Grace just has a really unique like style. And I love her like eclectic, colorful pattern mixing, all of that with her home. And so she shares like these beautiful like room makeovers. I actually think I first started following her because we were redoing our basement, and her basement was super cute. And so I took a lot of inspiration from that. So I actually followed her for a while and then realized that she sold oils. And so what's funny is I would have never once followed her, like you said, if it was nothing but like, even if they were beautiful graphics of oils and, all these like educational posts, I would have never followed her, even though I probably would really like her as a person. We probably would have a ton to talk about. And I would fangirl over meeting her. But I followed her because of all those other things we have in common. And now if I'm ever in the market to buy them, like she's the only one I want to buy them from because I want to get something from her. Like I want to support her. So it just creates that
loyalty.
And you look at their followers, and yes, both of them like make money in other ways now because their accounts are big. So they probably have like affiliate links and all of that stuff. But like the reason that they have like completely blown up and gotten all of these followers, and not only gotten so many followers, but have so many people who are like obsessed with them. Like you read through their comments, and these people are invested in who they are as people. The reason that they got there is because they shared their lives. Now, does that mean that they shared every part of their life? No. Like they have carefully curated what parts they share, what parts they hold private. And like not even out of like secrecy or like, oh, this is a private thing, but just like you don't have to share every aspect of yourself.
It's really intentional though, because when you continuously see the same topics, like Jessica Garvin, she has 3 daughters. Her house is also very cute, but completely different than hers. She renovated like a very old Victorian house. She is very like lots of black and white, pops of color, loves all the holidays, is always showing how she decorates for the holidays. And then mixed in there, you'll see, oh, she's putting oils in her diffuser that smell like Christmas. And I'm like, oh, how do I make my house smell like Christmas?
Yeah.
And how do I make my diffuser or my kitchen look so pretty with a diffuser like that? And all of a sudden here I am spending $287 at Young Living because I want my kitchen to smell like Christmas, not because she convinced me that oils are good or that whatever. And here I am sending my mom like, hey, here's this recipe for her Christmas diffuser blend or whatever. And her whole vibe is very like kind of anthropology feel. Just you could spot her post from a mile away. Like it has such a look.
Yep.
It has such a feel. It has such a vibe. And that makes me want to consume it all because I know what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
That's another part of this. It's like your favorite TV show. You tune in every week. It's like horrible as The Bachelor has gotten. I don't watch it quite as much, but I'll still want to watch it because it's like, well, that's like my Monday routine. And now they switched to days. Let's not even get into that. But like, that's my like thing to do on Monday. Like, that's fun. That's like, I pour my glass of wine and I want to sit down and watch The Bachelor. And that's that. If you have this level of like expectation and you know what to expect, you know what you're going to get, and it feels comfortable and it builds trust and it feels warm and cozy.
Yep.
And it's just, it makes you want to be at their party.
Yeah. So if agents are like looking at these girls now and seeing like, okay, what we're talking about, like there is a big difference between just like graphics of like sale posts or like different blends or whatever compared to this is my life. This is how I'm using this in real life. Also, I love this. And they want to apply that for themselves. How does an agent be like, what does that beginning of that look like? Like, I'm sure it's not just like write down 5 things that are about you, but like, how do they actually define like what it is that they want to share and connect with people over?
I feel like we could get into some really fun prompts. Right now, like,
yeah,
if you could only drink one beverage for the rest of your life, what would it be?
The beverage thing is the easiest point of entry to this whole thing. Because as we were on stories or whatever, I mean, look, like we both have our mugs here. We've had wine in these glasses before, all of that. Like
No, we didn't put wine in the Stanleys.
No, not in here.
Do not put wine in your Stanley. I mean, if you're going to your kid's soccer game, maybe, but no.
Yeah, going trick-or-treating.
No. Yeah.
So,
well, and beverages are conversational.
So
you sit down and have a drink and have a conversation. You sit down and have coffee, have a conversation. I don't drink tea. Do you too? Just so you know. This is weird. I have a sore throat. Okay. But yeah, beverages are such an easy entry point. And it's something you can like place into a video, a post, your story, drinking this on my way to a showing. And then, so like the difference too, if you're looking up like Jessica Garvin, Nesting with Grace, as an agent, you probably want more of what you do as a bigger splash and maybe what they have. However, not in a like, look at me, I sell real estate way, but more of a like, I've mentioned this earlier, I'm doing this after showing houses. I am watching Gilmore Girls. I just wrote an offer, now I'm watching Gilmore Girls. Like, how can you just pop those little pieces in as these subtle reminders, or even like, as a local real estate agent, here's my 5 favorite places to go for date night. That's so interesting.
Yes.
Anyone wants to know.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say anyone because I'm talking about being specific, but someone who's not dating or married might not want to know.
Yeah.
But again, it's about like sharing your part of your life in a way that is really easy to relate to.
Yes.
It's all about the relating.
It's all about too, like things that are easy to share about. And you don't share about these things every single day, but a lot of these things like are just part of your daily life. Like for instance, I have an Australian Shepherd and I think he's super great. I don't consider myself to be this like big dog mom that I just am obsessed with my dog. I'm just not. I love him very much and I will snuggle him all day long, but like I'm fine without him too. Okay.
Yes.
So, but the bottom line is like, let's take that example, but then let's also take like my obsession with Disney World. If you tell me that you're going to Disney World, I'm going to give you so much advice. I'm going to be able to walk you through the Apple Park. I'm going to tell you where to park your strollers. I'm going to tell you the best bathrooms. I'm going to tell you the best snacks. Like, I know everything about it. Is Disney World a part of my daily life? Absolutely not. Ironically, I'm pretty sure when this is airing, I will be in Disney World.
Oh my gosh. Follow your homegirl, Kayla, for all the behind the scenes Disney World.
But the truth is, it's just not practical to incorporate that. Unless I was some kind of, I mean, if I was a Disney planner, then absolutely. But like, I'm not. And so people, when I do go, I like to share about it. People know that about me. People ask me about it. But like, I can't incorporate that in my everyday life. And so I feel like it'd be a good exercise to really just like take the time, take a piece of paper and write down like things about you. Like what do your friends notice about you? What kinds of GIFs are your friends sending you? You know, are they sending you something like my husband sent me like these stupid Mickey Mouse one, but he knows that we love like Disney. Or I'll get stuff from my friends that are about the show Friends, like just those little things. And then when you start thinking about the kinds of conversations that you're having with your own friends and people in your life, and when you think about what's around you all the time, that maybe it's just slightly interesting, like a dog. It doesn't need to be anything exciting, I think you can start to kind of picture what your brand menu and what your like personal brand can actually like visually look like.
And I think it also kind of comes down to like who you're connecting with as a result. Like, so if you want the fact that your mom to be part of your brand, you're going to connect with more moms. If you don't really want that to be part of your brand, then maybe you don't incorporate that. Another piece of that, like another example, we could deep dive down this, but someone who says, well, I don't want my kids on social media. You don't have to show your kids on social media to make your mom life a part of your brand. It could be, we said this today, the monitor that's always sitting out, Rachel on Friends. They don't show Emma every day, but she'll be walking around with the baby monitor.
Yeah.
So it's like these little touch points, or like, again, as a city name realtor and mom of 2, here are my favorite blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean you're showing your kids in every photo or bringing them along with you to show houses. Like, it just means that that's a part of your identity that you're bringing into your brand that's going to connect with other moms who want a mom to help them find a house because they feel comfortable and they know what your needs are and they know how hard it is to sell a house with kids and all the things, you know?
So let's think of it this way. Let's say that there's an agent who is still like apprehensive because they're like, I don't want to come across as unprofessional. And they're looking at their brand menu and they see things like they love going on hikes with their kids. They love date nights with their husbands. And they love husbands. Hopefully it's just one. Okay. But let's say there's also like the aspect of like, they love, gosh, this is so not me. So I can't even like think of a good way to say this. But let's say they like love nightclubs or something, or like partying, or like.
See, I thought you were going to start with what you were starting with. I was like, you could sum that up with family. And then you throw nightclubs in there.
Well, no. Like, it's just like real life. Or someone who maybe has a bunch of tattoos. Or
maybe
whatever.
they play in a band.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just maybe a lifestyle and where they're afraid that they're going to come across as unprofessional with those things. I'll give a personal example. I don't usually, like I'll have an alcoholic beverage once in a while. I don't usually share that part of my life on social media because my husband and I, he's a teacher and like we help out with the youth group and stuff at our school. So it's just, or at our church. So it's just not a part of my life. I'm not hiding it from anyone, but it's just not a part of my life that I want to like exploit. And have it be like, this is part of who I am. Because I wouldn't really say, I mean, sure, my friends know that I'll have a drink, but it's not, I don't want people to see a drink and think of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where like for you, like a glass of wine, like for you, that feels very like elevated and homey and cozy and whatever. And like that totally describes who you are.
I have a really good story about this. Okay, so this was years ago, but I sent an email and the theme of it was kind of like sitting down for a glass of wine with a friend, like I like to say about the marketing approach. And someone responded and said, you shouldn't talk about wine in your marketing or brand, whatever she said, emails. It's unprofessional. But on the flip side, I had like 35 people respond to me about this email saying like, oh my God, I always need a fancy glass too, or something to do with my email. And I was like, okay, 35 to 1.
Right.
It might have been 50 people that were, it was so much, it was such a like drastic response rate in the positive, but then I got the one negative and you might get a negative without the positive sometimes, and that's fine. But I was like, I've made so many connections, so many conversations, so many relationships over my love of having a good glass of wine in a fancy glass or a pretty glass, that it has been part of my brand and it's like worked for me. But if I didn't drink, I wouldn't put that out there. Or if, I don't know. Like, when I was pregnant, I didn't talk about wine. It's not like you just have to roll with it. It's like your life. Like, it's just.
Yep. When you add the elements of like your personal brand to your messaging and to your, visual images, but also just like the things that you talk about, it makes you more memorable. And yes, for some people, that's going to make you memorable in a bad way because they're going to be turned off by what you've said. But like you said, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have people, you're going to find your people doing it this way. So you're going to quickly eliminate all the people that would have never trusted you to do a real estate transaction in the first place.
Anyways, yeah.
No.
Or I think of Copy Uncorked, my copywriter that I met way back when I first started using Instagram. And her name is Copy Uncorked. Her whole brand is centered around wine. And that's why I found her and I was like, I love her. And she did a good job. Like, I trust her. We bonded over wine. I'm going to hire you for this bigger expense to help me with this.
Yeah.
Because I like your style. We're on the same page. And I know you'll do a good job.
Yes. Tori Sprinkle's another great example.
Yeah.
You've hired her before. And what was her
I found her
profile?
Because of her bio.
Yes.
Or I don't know how I found her, but her bio is what made me click follow and then become a raving fan. I'm like her ideal client. Her bio said, branding that feels like a fancy drink in a hotel room or fancy glass champagne, something in a hotel room while watching The Office with no kids.
I mean, what a dream.
Sold. Also, I love being in hotel rooms and getting room service.
Yep.
Who doesn't? Not that I've done that in a really long time, but it's like, I don't like The Office. I don't not like The Office, but that's like my go-to show. So I could have been like, someone could say like, well, I can't talk about that because like, what if someone doesn't relate? All I did was picture me watching Friends.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, same.
And you probably thought she and I would have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Like, I trust her. Like, I feel like
she would get me.
Her.
She would get my brand. Yes. She would get my tone of voice, whatever it is.
Yeah. So it's so simple and so powerful. But the problem is people overthink this.
Wait, let's flip it back really quick. If I found her and her profile said branding and web design, maybe some catchy word, some emojis, I never would have followed her.
No.
Ever.
Even if you would have met with her and been like, I'm obsessed. She's so great. You wouldn't have, it wouldn't have caught your eye. It wouldn't have started that conversation.
I never would have gotten to that point.
No.
And it could happen through a reel. It could happen through a story. It could happen through any piece of content, really, that you just have that little point of connection.
Exactly. So if an agent, which I would argue, first of all, I feel like agents, female agents are very smart. And I feel like most of them are pretty analytical and like not necessarily black and white thinkers, but like they make smart business decisions. So sometimes I think that can, while that makes them great agents, I think it can make it difficult for them to picture their overall brand as having a little bit more depth than, a little bit more depth than that, especially if they don't live these like super exciting lives. If they don't live in like really fancy aesthetic houses, if they don't have like,
or in a city that's like selling sunset, or
or even like a really like, I feel, I mean, we joke about like your town, like Oconomowoc is like a very quintessential town. Like everything is pretty picturesque. That is the opposite of where I live, and I love where I live, but it is not that way. And so, how can an agent who maybe wants more of a personal brand, or maybe understands like I need to add a little bit more depth to my brand besides just real estate, but my life is pretty boring, or like I literally roll out of bed in the morning in my sweatpants. Like I don't have this like morning routine. I don't eat or drink like cute drinks. Like how can I, what's my brand, and like what does that look like, and what if I don't like what it looks like? What would you say to them?
I would say you need to start having some more fun with your life.
Yeah.
Like intentionally. Like another way to angle this is like, where do you like to spend time in your community? Do you go to local events? Do you have a favorite restaurant? Do you have a favorite coffee shop? Do you like to get ice cream? Like you have to eat, you have to drink, and you probably do some type of like interesting activity, even if it's doing crossword puzzles, that's an activity.
Yeah.
And it's just something that you can bring in and incorporate in these little tiny doses.
Yep.
Like you don't need to post like, so my brand menu, like we said, it's some of the things are like book club, wine, being a mom. I'm not making like exclusive posts that say like, I love wine. Here's my favorite glass or bottle. Like it would just be like my wine is in my reel.
Yeah.
Or I say, you know, here are the 5 things I love as a mom and blah, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's that type of stuff. And I think we overthink it because it's stuff we're already doing and we think we have to like create it, but it's really just doing the things you're already doing. So it's taking one tiny thing, whether it's a beverage, a favorite food, a favorite TV show, a favorite local spot you like to hang out, something you listen to in the car. Like maybe it's the fact that you don't have a morning routine or that you're not a morning person or that you are like, maybe it's that you don't work out or that you do.
Like the reels that are like my realistic, non-aesthetic morning as a mom of whatever, or as an agent or whatever. I love those more than anything because I'm like, finally, someone whose life looks like me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not like a movie.
Yes. Okay, can I tell you a story? When I got my real estate license, we had just moved to my town, even though we had been involved there for a while. My husband had coached there for a while. And our kids were young. We were super tight on money. And I did not live an aesthetic life by any means. I still don't. But one way that I like took a real part of me and like I basically added to my brand menu, I exploited it, was like I am a sucker for a good gas station fountain drink. I love the carbonation. I love the tiny little ice pellets. I think it's so great. So now most people, like, I feel like an iced coffee or like a glass of wine is like an elevated, more like socially acceptable thing to be drinking, right? Whatever. Where when you come in with like a big fountain pop or soda, wherever you're from,
pop.
when you come in with that, you might feel like in the way, right? You might feel like this is obnoxious. I, however, decided like, this is all I got, right? I had to be very scrappy. So I did this thing in my stories where I would ask people, who has the best fountain pops in Columbia City? I need to know. And they would tell me where to go. And I would go there and have one for the day. And keep in mind, this cost me like less than $1. But I would go there for the day, get my drink, and then I would rate it. And I finally, after going to like 6 different gas stations after so many weeks, I was like, this gas station has the best fountain pop. And people, that started more conversations, even with people who don't even drink soda. Like people who just think it was funny, or like, they're like, oh, I heard this place is good, or this place has like a club card or whatever. And that, I can tell you off the top of my head, relationships that I made with people through my church and through our school that I would never, people that I probably wouldn't have talked to, but they thought that was funny and they thought it was relatable, even if they didn't also drink those things.
I kind of want a fountain pop now.
You should go get one.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was so, I think that's where people read way too much into this, or they're just too hard on themselves. And it's like, this is actually so much more simple than what you think. Another
Look at the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Oh my
you didn't watch
gosh.
it, did you?
Yeah. No, I didn't watch it, but I saw.
But like, that's their thing.
Yes.
Pop.
I mean,
Pop bars.
yes. Dirty sodas. Is that what they call them?
Well, they're all, it's like a coffee shop. So it's like all the names. So like, I'll take the number 7, which it could be a Coca-Cola or whatever, and then it has like 2 pumps of hazelnut and it's hilarious. It's
lots of cream,
terrible
sugar.
for you. The one girl goes, I'll probably die when I'm 50, but I don't care.
I'll die happy.
Yeah.
So funny. Well, and it's so funny. So another example of like this whole brand menu thing and feeling like your life is not like almost like brand menu worthy or like Instagram worthy is my parents. So my parents, they have always been entrepreneurs, real estate agents. They've flipped a lot of houses and done a lot of like rental properties and stuff. And a couple of years ago, they bought an RV and they just like to putz around the US and travel. And I remember telling my mom, like, you should document some of these things that you're doing because it's so interesting. And she's just like, Kayla, I get up in the morning and I run to Menards and then I go to the job site where we hang kitchen tile. And like, she was explaining all of these things. And at the very end, I just said to her, do you realize that's what Chip and Joanna Gaines did?
Like, yeah.
Now, of course,
you just described a TV show.
Right, on multiple TV shows. But like, now, of course, HGTV like exploited that.
Yeah,
and, like,
makes
whatever.
it pretty.
But like, that was that's the same brand. And people think that's interesting. And I think people just are either hard on themselves or they just don't think that they're as interesting as what other people.
Or it's an age thing. And then I think of that. Have you seen Babs on Instagram?
Yes.
She's the best. Like, she'll share recipes, posting tips, Thanksgiving, whatever. Like, she is so good. Like, there is no age limit on this. There is no anything.
Yeah.
Personality limit. I almost feel like the magic is in the mundane. And the more real life stuff you share, the more conversations you have.
Yes.
Like, whether and again, it's like someone's not even interested.
Yeah.
And they feel compelled to say something, follow along. And that gets into a whole nother topic of serious
and when
style.
you say like real life, that doesn't mean airing your dirty laundry. That doesn't mean crying on Instagram or showing your messy house. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't, but like,
I think there was a period of time on Instagram where like being authentic was, oh, don't wear makeup, don't use filters. Who cares what your house looks like? I think that maybe like got misconstrued because no one like yes, we all like pretty things, but that doesn't mean in order to show up you need like a perfect kitchen and a perfect house. It's more about like being willing to just show up, regardless. And we can get into a whole different episode on like how to find an aesthetic corner, or a space, or a thing that makes you feel good about showing up. But wear makeup if you want to. Like do it in your car. Like your car, you're selling real estate. You're in your car all the time. You could wear sunglasses. You could pop your phone open and give a quick tip. Or also the lighting is really good in the car.
Totally good.
Like really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not about making things complicated or trying to have this like I think the other misconception is like that would be unprofessional, but that's because you're thinking of it in this way of like, I'm sharing like my college days, or like I'm sharing my ugly kitchen. Like that's not the point. Like the point is just little moments, little pockets of your day and your life.
Yep, for sure. So if someone, which we're going to get to like the homework, which is more about like defining your brand menu. But gosh, what was I just going to say? If someone is ready to, once they have their brand menu figured out, like where do they actually plug this in? Like, can we name like 4 or 5 places where like, we know, show your personality, but like, where do they do that on Instagram or in their marketing in general?
A prop in your stories. It could be something that you bring and associate with your clients. So if you love champagne, maybe you gift that to clients at a closing. It could be, if it's a certain color, you could wear that color in your Instagram content and photos. There's a girl, she's a real estate agent. I can't think of her name, but she always wears denim.
Yes.
Like, if you looked at her feed, it was like all denim. And I'm like, it just stands out because everything, you like, a reel pops into my feed. And I'm like, oh, what's her name? Like, it just like, you recognize it. So color's very powerful. And that's not even like a personality. That's not even like I love this show or this drink. It's like, it's just a color.
Yeah.
Maybe you always wear black, make it your thing. Like maybe you always wear color, make it your thing. Like it could be either or. Another way to do it would be through metaphors. So, how buying a house is similar to picking a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And then look at what's in common, or Google it.
Yeah.
You'll probably get some kind of like little analogies, but
yes,
metaphors. You have some good ideas.
I used to do a lot with that with football because everyone already knew me as the football coach's wife. And so instead of fighting it, I was just like, okay, how can I show that I'm on your home team and I'm going to get you all the way to the end zone with the keys? You know what I mean? And like, yes, some of it was like cheesy, but also people looked forward to that. Like they thought it was fun to like talk about it in that way. And the people that I knew in that community were all connected to football. So like that made sense to them.
You know what else you could do? You could name your listings.
Yes.
Or the houses your buyers buy. Like the one with, like maybe you love Friends. The one with the football field in the backyard. Or like the one with the brown kitchen or whatever. Like it could be like, you could, your brand menu could still have a connection point to real estate.
Yes.
If you love cooking, you could do a kitchen of the day in your stories.
Yep.
And that's going to be memorable. It's going to be on brand. Doesn't mean your kitchen has to be Instagram aesthetic, whatever. It can be like, I just saw a reel where she was like, when you point of view, you have the outdated brown kitchen cabinets and you still love where you live.
Yeah.
Something like, I'm like, yeah.
Yes.
Like, it's not just about everything being perfect.
No.
And you can't be afraid. I think the other hesitation is like, well, how do I pick something? And we'll get more into this later, but let's give them their homework.
Yeah.
Are we ready to give them their homework?
I think so. I mean,
I could talk about this all day.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was just trying to think because I thought, okay, once they do their homework, like where can they plug it in at? And if we think about, I mean, basically you said like stories, posts, your captions with metaphors, your props, your photo shoots, your emails, like if you're going to call your emails something, or just like it showed up in your stories, like, hey, like this is what I'm watching right now. Like, are you watching this too? So we don't have to overthink it. And by the way, don't do all of those things all at once. Don't make that your goal. Pick one. And then maybe drip in another one at some point in time.
And a good starting place is in your stories, like with a lot of things, have us take a picture every morning or whatever of your desktop or not your desktop, your workspace.
Yes.
With that beverage in the picture or with an on-brand color in the picture. Maybe it's you always drink out of this pink mug.
Yep.
Put it in your picture and say like, happy Monday.
Yes.
Like it's really simple.
Yes. All those things. So how many things would you encourage someone, like look, the homework that we talked about for them is to have them write down like maybe like 10 things that come to mind when they think like, okay, these things could all be a part of my brand menu. How many things do you want them to narrow that down to? And what do you want them to do with that information?
I would first say if you can't think of them yourself, which is also a struggle point, you could ask your spouse, ask your kids, ask your friend, like, what do you think of when you think of me? If my husband sent me a meme, what would it be? Kind of like what you said. So I would try to narrow it down to at like 5 max.
Yeah.
And again, like you talked about, the 5 that are easy to capture, you're doing them consistently. So like I love to travel, but I don't travel every week or every month even. So I'm not going to have that be one of my 5 things.
Yep.
even book club. I can document that I'm like reading before bed pretty much every night, but I can't document that I'm going to book club every day.
Yeah.
But reading is part of my brand. So it's an easy thing to kind of weave in. And I can't tell you how many conversations I've had about reading.
Yeah.
And I started a book club with a member,
I
which
love that.
I've done a podcast with, like, or about, like, so many things. So I think if you can narrow it down to 5, but just start with documenting and capturing one, is such a good starting point.
I totally agree.
And it can be, again, if it's a beverage, if it's an accessory, if it's mom life.
Yeah.
It could be your kids playing in the morning while you're checking your emails.
Yeah.
Every morning. That's like
so
part of your
simple.
routine. Yeah.
And
and you repeat it over and over and over and over. And then it's like, oh, what kind of toy is your kid playing with? What kind of mat is that? What show are they watching?
Yeah.
What kind of computer do you have? What's that thing in the background? Like, it just happens.
And to just remember, like, it happen the first time you do it.
Right.
It might not happen in the first week that you do it. But as you continually show up and you get consistent with sharing these little aspects of your life, you're going to create conversations. You're going to form those connections. And you're going to be talking to not just other people online, but you're going to be talking with future buyers and sellers in your local market.
I have a bonus homework assignment.
Let's hear it.
So I want you to either look up someone you love to follow, like we love to follow Jessica, and what's Testing with Grace's real name? Brooke. I love that name. Look up someone you love to follow and try to identify something in their brand menu. They don't know they even have one because they don't know the term, but they have one. Yep, everyone does. And if they don't, you probably don't like following them.
Yeah.
And I want you would either do this. So find someone you love to follow and identify that, or scroll through and try to find someone new that you want to follow and try to identify why you just wanted to click follow. What was it? What was it about them? Because it's probably not that they were selling oils or shampoo or houses or home inspections or any type of service, or that their hairstyle, something else happened there.
Yeah. Something that you saw that you either related to or aspired to.
Or, were inspired by or something. There's some connection point.
Yeah. It's your little market research.
Market research.
That's what marketing girls do.
Yeah. Marketing girls do market research. That's going to be a shirt.
I love that.
Do you know how is it the Toast that does like giveaway, or like they'll do like surprise merch and you only get it if you listen? Because it'll like make no sense to like me. If I looked, I don't really listen to them. If I like saw it, I'd be like, what the heck does that mean? But like their people get it. Yep. I'm going to start doing that.
I love it very much.
Okay. Well, that was fun.
That was another episode in the books.
I love this topic. We'll be back with more on this topic, probably again and again and again. Yeah. There's just so much you can do with it. And
if people have questions too, like they can always be DMing us. On Modern Agent Social Club, on our personal handles, which are all in the show notes. But that way too, like as we get more deep into this and as we start seeing like repeat questions or whatever, we can not only answer them in DMs, but also like
point you back.
Yeah.
And also like if you do try this, like DM, like this is, if you really want to be an overachiever, DM us and tell us the one thing that you're picking in your brand menu.
Oh my gosh. I would love
to see it. Like just DM me Diet Coke and I'll know.
Or chicken.
Chickens. Yeah.
Okay. It's very cool.
All right. Well, this is fun. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Sounds great.
I'm so glad we got to hang out today. If you're as sad as I am that our time is up, I've got good news. There are a couple of different ways we can keep the conversation going.
First, follow us on Instagram at Modern Agent Marketing Girls and introduce yourself in the DMs. Also, we always have a free Modern Agent resource available. So check out today's show notes for the goods.
And finally, hang out with other go-to real estate girls like you and finally create a marketing plan that works when you join Modern Agent Social Club. All the details are in today's notes.
XOXO, the Marketing Girls.